Hi everyone, we are going to make an exercise called Basic Assembly. So we're going to start off on our learnonshape.com website. We're going to go to New to Onshape, click Get Started, and now we're going to scroll all the way down to Onshape Assemblies. So I'm going to hit Continue, and I'm going to scroll up in section 2 where it says Exercise Basic Assembly. I'm going to create this guy. All right, so I'm going to hit the next page, and then we're going to be prompted to open up the public document Exercise Basic Assembly. So I'm going to click that and make copy to edit. And again, I'm going to select my folder and hit open a couple times. And there we go. This is our thing. What the heck? It looks assembled already, but it's not. So let's go back to our instructions and go on to slide number 2. In the copy document, select Add Element Plus and choose Create Assembly. And that's what they mean by Add New Element Plus. And you're going to notice a new tab is going to show up once I select Create Assembly. And there it is, Assembly 1. And there's nothing there, but we're going to fix that because we're going to first rename it Hydraulic Clamp Assembly. Oh, there it is. I'm going to right click, rename Hydraulic Clamp Assembly. Do they say clamp? I don't know. Does it really matter what we call it? Oh, it is Hydraulic Clamp Assembly. Well, good. Okay, now with an assembly, you're going to pull in parts from a part studio. So what we saw originally was actually a part studio that had all the parts in it. And what's going to happen when I click on this insert button is it's going to pull up this. It's going to show all the components, the different individual parts of this assembly. Okay, and we are going to insert the whole thing by clicking the top level entry that says hydraulic components. The individual components are below that. Okay, so I'm going to click Insert, Hydraulic Components, and go straight to the green check mark. Now that's important because it actually places it in a good spot relative to the origin like that. So the next thing they want us to do is right click on the cylinder and select Fix to the fixed cylinder in place. So I'm going to go to my little parts list cylinder, right click and select Fix. What that does is it takes the cylinder and it locks it into place relative to the origin. I can move all the rest of the parts around, but I can no longer move this part around. All right, next, we're going to create a second instance of the O-ring. So I'm going to right click on the O-ring in the instances list and select Copy O-ring. And then I'm going to right click again in the assembly space and press Paste O-ring. Okay, so let's see how that works. I'm going to right click on the O-ring, select Copy O-ring, and then I'm going to go in here and click Paste O-ring. And there it is. Okay, so I've got an O-ring in there. So what I'm going to then do is I'm actually going to make my first mate. Okay, what mates are what the best way to describe a mate is it locks two pieces into a relative position. And there's several different types, and the different types denote the different types of movements you can have. Okay, the first one we're going to make is called a fasten mate. A fasten mate is like gluing them together. They cannot move relative to each other. Okay, you can move them around, you can rotate them, you do all kinds of stuff, but they will not move relative to each other. And when you see the other types, you'll kind of understand a little bit better what I'm talking about. Now, what we have to do is define the positions and where we're going to lock them. And so what I want to do, I'm going to grab this little spigot handle and pull it over here. To me, it looks like a soap dispenser. I know that's not what it is, but you know, whatever. Okay. And I want the center of this top to be in the center of this thing. Now, one of the things I'm going to show you right off the bat is a trick that's going to make this way, way, way easier. So I'm going to select the Fasten Mate right over here. And it's very easy to select the center of the top of this, right? It's just a circle on top. When I click it, it places my first mate connector there. Now, here's the problem. When I go to click over here, see how the top of this cylinder isn't actually level with this face? But if I try to click that, every time I go down in here, it wants to click this cylinder. Here's the fix for that. You hover over the surface that's the level you want, and then you hold down the shift key. That locks it into that elevation. Now when I go over to the center, bingo, and click, you see how they're nice and lined up? And by the way, I tend to click this solve button before I do anything. Sometimes it makes things good, sometimes it just doesn't matter, but then I'm going to click the green. Now, if you look, the top of this gray piece is exactly even with the top of this layer right here, okay? The shift key is your friend because trying to lock in the holes is a pain in the neck, and that shift key makes it really, really helpful. Okay, so I've got that. What's next? All right, on the next slide, we're going to take our O-rings and we're going to actually put them in place. Okay, now one of the O-rings looks like it's already in place. It's not. If I grab it and drag it, oh wait, I gotta, by the way, when you do any kind of mate, it wants to just allow you to keep making more mates. You have to click the red X to get out of that. So now I'm going to drag this over here and I'm going to drag this over here. And you see, it wasn't really attached because I could just move it right off. So I'm going to attach these. And so what we want to do is make the center of this click to the center of that. Okay, now this is one of those ones that is easier than it looks. If I get the Fasten Mate again and I hover over this, you notice the only place it really gives me an option is the center, just because of the shape of this. Like I don't even know how you would do it with the top edge, honestly. But if you hover over it, you create a mate there. Now, to put it on here is a little trickier, you know, so I'm not really getting what I want. If I zoom in, zooming is what this is all about. And see how if I grab this little inner curved surface, that's going to put it right where I want. And I'm going to hit solve and the green. Okay, now I'm just going to do it again for the bottom one. And you notice it's still unfastened because that's what I was saying. It wants to, just to make things easier, if you have to fasten a bunch of things, you won't have to click that tool every time. So I'm going to hover over, click the yellow ring, once again, zoom down here, get that entire inner surface, and it's right where I want it to be. And I'm going to attach it. Now, those things aren't going anywhere. If I try to click and drag it, it doesn't allow me to. Okay, they are truly fastened. Now, this next part is interesting. I'm going to take this and I'm going to drag it over here, and you'll see why in a second. So the next one is a more complicated one. I'm going to go on to the next one. What we're going to try to do is we're going to take this and we're going to attach it, the bottom of this gray plunger, I guess if that's what you want to call it, to the bottom of the inside of this shaft down here. And frankly, that's hard to do because you can't see inside the part. So what we're doing is we're creating a view that allows us to look inside. Okay, and so I'm gonna show you how that works. So to create a section view, you go over to here where it says camera and render options, you click, and then you click on section view. Okay, now I want to go in and I want a plane that is somewhat vertically oriented. So I'm going to click here, which is, as I could have done this one or this one, it would all have been fine. And then I'm going to grab that arrow and drag it in, and look what it does. And by the way, you're not doing anything to the part. You're just creating a view into the part, which we can then, if you click over here, you could turn it off if you want to, and we will eventually. Okay, but for now, that's really cool because it's going to allow me to make this much easier. I'm going to click the green checkbox so it's just out of my face. And we're supposed to create what's called a cylindrical mate. Okay, so this gives me an opportunity to show you the types of mates. A revolute mate fixes things in place but allows them to spin around. A slider mate allows things to slide relative to each other. Okay, so if I made this a revolute mate and put it there, I could turn it around, but I couldn't lift it up and down. If I made a slider mate, I can move it up and down, but I couldn't rotate it. A cylindrical mate gives you both of those things. You notice it's kind of a combination of the graphic for the revolute mate and the slider mate. Well, it's both. So I'm going to click cylindrical mate. And by the way, there are others, but we're not going to talk about those right now. And for my mate connectors, I want the center of here, right? I'm going to click that. And then I'm going to hover over this section. And you notice it gives me that circle. Boom. And whoa, what did it do? It broke it. No, that's where the solve comes in. When I hit solve, it fixes that. And then we click the green checkbox and it's like, but it looks weird. Yeah, because we have the section view on. I'm going to go over here and turn it off. Hey, and we're right back where we started. Now watch this. If I grab let's say I'm going to grab it. Oh wait, I got to hit the red X to get out of it. If I grab this, I can, come on, see, I can spin it around. Oh, look at that. Oh, but I did a thing. I think I jumped ahead of us a little bit. I did. Well, you know what? Easy fix. Well, no, I really didn't. I just started dragging it around too soon. We're going to go to the next slide, and we're going to create something called limits. Okay, if you notice, when I grabbed it, I was able to drag it completely outside the part, which is not really realistic, okay? What I'm going to do here is add limits, okay? Z is the up and down axis. And what I'm going to do, see how it's got the arrows pointing in? I'm going to say that means that in that way, we can only go minus 40 millimeters from where we're at. And by the way, my minus is because we're below the origin. And then I can go all the way up to the origin. Okay, so let's see how that works. I'm gonna go and double click on that mate that I made. And I'm gonna click the limit checkbox. And here I'm gonna click and type -40. Now the other one see, it says no maximum. That's not a 0. We actually have to enter the 0 in. And then I'm gonna accept it. Now watch what happens. If I grab this, I can drag up and it stops. And when I drag down, it has a limit. Okay, it can spin around all you want. Okay, I know it looks kind of weird. It's because my computer here is not that awesome. But it would be more smooth on a better computer. But I do have limits. I can go only here, and which is realistic. We want this to be a realistic mechanism. And there you go. All right, what's next? Number 12, our assembly is fully mated and moves to our desired range of motion. And then now we've normally gone back and checked these things. It's really hard to do with these things. We're not going to do that here. We're just going to know, hey, this is doing what it's supposed to do. We're happy. It's done. So there you go. This is the basic assembly exercise. Thank you for joining me.